Welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to show you what a typical day would look like using the 6 to 8 level. Now for today's video, we're going to be using the example you are using all pieces of the 6 to 8 program, which includes our combined subject language arts, science, and social studies program, along with our 6 to 8 math program and our 6 to 8 reading program. Now I am following a typical day using our 5-week schedule. If you did not know, we offer various scheduling options for using the curriculum depending on how many days a week you are using it. For this example, we are going to be using week 7, day 1. So we're a little bit into the curriculum. You and your child would have a pretty good grasp on what's happening. You're going to see we're at different lessons, units, semesters, depending on the different subjects. What the great thing about Beyond the Page curriculum is in your actual curriculum, whether it's the combined subject, the math, or the reading, it's pretty easy to stay on track. But if you need a printed out schedule, we do offer them in PDF version on our website. So we're going to start today with our combined subject, our language arts, science, and social studies. For today, in week 7, we are on lesson 3, classifying animals, day 1. So we are just jumping into the first day of lesson 3. I do believe lesson 3 is broken into 2 days. So in our parent manual, it will tell us when to stop the activities, and tomorrow we would pick up on day 2 activities. We're also going to be on lesson 4 in our math, and we are going to be doing our subtraction practice, day 1. And for our reading program, we are in semester 1, lesson 6, other vowel sounds, day 4. Sometimes you are starting like brand new, fresh, day 1 of a new lesson. For other subjects, we're going to be wrapping up one of our lessons. So the different subjects are not always going to match up. I just think that's important to understand, but it is intentional and all set up this way. All right, let's jump in to our combined subject. So for today, we are starting lesson 3, which is classifying animals. Because this is a new start to the lesson, we're going to go through any questions to explore. These are great for you as the parent, as the teacher, to understand what concepts your child should be understanding throughout the lesson. There's going to be facts and definitions. So these are going to be different words you're going to want your child to make sure that they understand the word and definition. We break down the skills and concepts and how each of those plays into the different subjects. So if there's science skills, social studies skills, language arts, even math, even though this is not the separate math program, math concepts can still be included. Any materials that you're going to need for this lesson, I like to double check that, make sure I have everything. Sometimes things need to come from our materials kit, other things I may need to source from around the house. We're going to get an introduction because again, this is introducing us into a brand new unit. So this helps me understand what I'm going to be teaching this day, and then I can reiterate that to the child. For this lesson, we are not reading literature. We are jumping right into activities. So the first activity is actually going to be in our student activity book, and it's going to be sorting animals. So your child has been learning about different animals already, and so at this point they are ready to start sorting animals. So they're going to cut this out and put it into groups. Their child can make any groups that they want. They just need to label the 2 groups. We recommend using some yarn and making a circle. So circle 1 would be this group and circle 2 would be this group. Then moving into activity 2, we're going to be using those same animal cutouts from the first activity and the same yarn circles. We're going to explain the different classification of animals that scientists use, which are fish, insect, bird, mammal, reptile, and amphibian. We're going to explain that for an animal to be in that group, it's going to have similar characteristics to other animals in that group. Your child is then going to make 5 circles using yarn and 5 labels and sort the animals now into those 5 categories. So they're going to be going a little bit more in depth than how they originally sorted them, and they're going to understand how scientists sort them. This does provide you, the parent, an answer key. So just in case you aren't 100% sure how the animals should be sorted, there is an easy answer key right in your parent manual. Then we're going to go on to activity 3, which again is very similar. We're using the same supplies, but at this point we're separating amphibians versus reptiles. So there's a reading passage explaining the differences and that your child will be able to sort them. In the activity 2, we combined reptiles and amphibians, so that's why there was only 5 circles. So now we're going to separate the amphibians versus reptiles. And now activity 4, we are still classifying and sorting our animals. We are going to do warm-blooded versus cold-blooded. So you're going to have 2 circles, 2 labels, and your child's going to sort the animals into those 2 categories. And then the final activity, so there's 5 total activities for today's lesson, but you can see the first 4 were very similar because we're just cutting out and using the same methods for classifying the animals. We're just going a little bit deeper every time. Your child is going to then, activity 5, choose their favorite animals. So they're going to choose their favorite animal. They're going to draw a picture of the animal in its habitat. They're going to label the animal, certain characteristics of that animal, and they're going to explain to you how would they classify this animal. It does recommend having a animal resource book. So one that I like to have is the DK Smithsonian Animal Book. This is great to have just really in your house for your kids to go through all the different animal types. You know, sometimes when you ask a kid to pick their favorite thing, they get a little stuck. And so this is huge, bright pictures. It explains the classification of the animal, facts about them, their habitat. And so this would be a great tool for your child to use. And so that would wrap up your language, arts, science, and social studies lesson for the day. That was a very fun hands-on activity that I know I would even enjoy doing. And then your child gets to pick their favorite animal, draw. If you wanted to add on some writing practice, you could have your child write a paragraph about the animal or explain why it's their favorite animal. We're going to move into our math lesson for the day. So for math, we are starting on lesson 4, which is time to subtract. This lesson actually will be broken into 3 days, so we're just going to focus on day 1. Very similar, we're going to go, because this is the first day of this lesson, we're going to go through our questions to explore, our facts and definitions, the skills for math specifically, our materials list, and our introduction. We will be reading a new book in today's lesson, Subtraction Action. So we're going to go ahead and start the lesson with reading through this book and then answering some discussion questions. Then we're going to get into activity 1, which is subtraction action. We are breaking down what subtraction means in this lesson, and so we are going through the basics. We're going to explain the minus sign. We're going to explain what both numbers mean in a subtraction equation. We're going to explain at this level that, you can't take a larger number from a smaller number, and so we're going to use some manipulatives to show examples of doing that. Like if I had 4 blocks and I wanted to take away 5, we can't do that. So we want them to understand that concept at this age level. There are certain pages we're going to refer back to in this book for the activity, so they do truly understand like how a subtraction problem needs to be written. There are some learning curves here because addition is simple. You can add any numbers anyway. It's going to end up being the same thing, but subtraction does not work that way. You're going to want to get your whiteboard out. You're going to make sure that, again, they are writing the subtraction problems with the largest number first and the smaller number being taken away. If they do anything correct, you're going to want to make sure you challenge them, have manipulatives so they can visually see what you're trying to say. And that would be day 2 or day 1. So day 1, again, we're jumping into this new lesson. So we are reading through this book and answering a lot of questions based on this book and understanding the basic concepts behind subtraction that we're going to continue to build upon in the future days. And that is our math lesson for the day. All right, now our last subject is going to be reading. So for reading, we are on lesson 6, day 4. So this is going to be a little bit different because we're not starting a new lesson. We are actually going to be more than halfway through the lesson. This lesson that we've been working on is vowel sounds, and so we are on day 4. And so on day 4, we're jumping right into our activities because we've already gone through the introduction, the getting started, different concepts, definitions. And so on day 4, we are jumping right into activity 4.1, which is word building. We are going to be using some of the materials from our materials kit, which includes our lowercase letter cards and the world building cards. You're going to separate them into specific groups. So in your parent manual, you're going to have the list of the letters and word building cards, and then you're going to have them spell specific words. You're going to do that into 2 different various groups of practice. Once that's done, you're going to move on to your next activity. So your next activity is going to be a word scramble page, which is actually in the student activity book. So they're going to get this activity page. They're going to have to unscramble these words. Once that is completed, then your child is going to jump on to the online Learning Gates program and complete their Learning Gates quiz for the day. And that is their reading lesson. So that is what a typical 6 to 8 day would look like if you were using all the various subjects of the Beyond the Page curriculum. We have other videos with more details on various aspects of the 6 to 8 level, so make sure you check those out. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Thanks for watching today's video.